about coal. This is a topic we've covered several times, but of course it's something which comes into the spotlight as we approach COP27. Now, as you know very well, we're in a situation where we are having a major shift in our energy landscape, and that is because of Russia's weaponization of its energy supplies as part of its aggression against Ukraine and against the European Union. We are in a situation where we need to replace a large amount of gas which we were previously importing from Russia with alternative fuel sources. Now, we've made very clear that there are three pillars to this. One is diversification, so finding alternative gas supplies. The other is investing and speeding up our deployment of renewables. And then the third is energy efficiency. Now, one of the things that we will, of course, need to do in the short term, and by short term I mean this winter and possibly the next winter, and perhaps a third beyond that, is to engage in some fuel switching when necessary to move away from gas to other fuels. And there are a number of member states that have announced that in the short term they will be needing to resort to coal to ensure energy security in Europe. Now, I think it's very important to underline that this is a short-term measure to ensure our energy security, and that the Commission has proposed to increase our targets for 2030 for both renewables and for energy efficiency, and that our climate targets, our commitment both domestically and to the partners at the UNFCCC, is set into law. We have a commitment to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030. That will not change. What that will mean is that we need to catch up in the second half of the decade for any impact that the next couple of winters have on our emissions, if there are any, through that extra coal use that we need in a short-term basis. But I think that is a situation which the majority of our international partners understand. They appreciate that the situation that we are put in at the moment, and they understand that Europe will remain a global leader in terms of phasing out coal around the world and in terms of raising ambition. So this is something which no doubt we will have the opportunity to discuss with our partners. We will be very clear about the journey that we're on. And to remind you, last year's COP26 in Glasgow, the final agreement, the Glasgow Climate Pact, included for the first time a commitment by all parties to phase down coal, as you say. That's something which the Commission is very determined to follow up on with our international partners. Other things that we do, not just domestically but internationally, is to work on things like the Just Energy Transition Partnership. So we signed one with South Africa last year at COP26 and are working on a number of others with other international partners to really implement these commitments, to help parties around the world, countries around the world that have a high dependency on coal to move away. We will be helping them to invest in the transition, to design transition plans, much like we have in the European Union, to find financial support through public and private sources. So there is a whole work of implementation which we're doing domestically and internationally to ensure that we do deliver on this phase down on coal. I spoke so long on that question, I forgot your second one. Sorry, on loss and damage, yes, and any precedent set by Denmark. So as you say, I mean, Denmark made a contribution and pledged a contribution on loss and damage. This is, of course, one of the topics which will be discussed in Sharm el-Sheikh. And Executive Vice President Timmermans has had the opportunity to speak about that on a number of occasions at the recent Environment Council and at the pre-COP meeting in Kinshasa. And what he has said very clearly is that the European Union has a clear understanding of the position which is being expressed by the developing countries in particular on this. We stand ready to be a bridge builder in this conversation. In terms of putting on the agenda at the COP27 a conversation about this, about the best ways to address this issue, the best financial vehicles for addressing this issue. It's a long and complicated discussion which we will have. There are different thoughts on how you would do this. What the Commission is prioritizing is using the existing financial tools and vehicles which are out there. And I would remind you that we are the largest international donor of climate finance. The European Union published last week its updated figures for 2021 for climate financing, maintaining a level of over 23 billion euros in climate finance, which is given primarily to the developing world. That's a commitment which we, of course, will continue to respect, and we will maintain and keep working with European member states and other bodies to increase climate finance.
Thank you very much, Tim.